Okay, tell me exactly
This
what
is
happened.
weird.
I just got home and I opened the door and my husband's dead on the floor. Do you think he is beyond any help?
No, not my chapter. It's that chapter. His name is Mike.
My name is Mike.
And he's fun to watch stories with. But not this one. So I'm gonna watch one video with you guys. Yeah, I watch true crime all the time. Like, I watch it with my boyfriend and he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you love this stuff? But it's very interesting. I've watched it since I was like young. We used to watch Forensic Files in my house. So, you know, it's always been very interesting to me. So let's pick one that I haven't seen yet because I've seen a lot of these. Let's go with... She's been sucked into all the stuff about the Murdaugh murders in South Carolina recently. Those murders were fucked up. I watched this video and the fucking web is insane. Like, I still don't quite understand it because the fact that the son was involved in... Was that the one with the boating incident with the son? And then you come to find out that the whole family like was found dead. Like the mom and the son was found dead at the home. That one was really messed up and I still don't quite understand what happened there. I think a lot of people don't quite understand what the fuck happened there. It's like, Jesus, what? Like, people want to take things into their own hands a lot of the time, and it's like, you can't I can't even words. Like, goddamn, guys. People are so interesting. Let's do... I don't like the kid ones because it just makes me feel sad for children. Let's do The Strange Case of Randy Baker. And I'm gonna pause often.
And welcome. My name is Mike. And in this whole
include
video...
my own.
Okay. It's Colorado again, so let's just get that out of the way first. And we're talking about a guy named Randy Baker. His life wasn't the easiest, but things were looking up when he retired and he was gonna live out his golden years riding his hog. Phrasing. You know, like when deciding what topics I wanna cover and make videos about, I don't really have any kind of set criteria. I just like ones that have lots of twists and turns, and boy oh boy does this have those. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Also, I suggest everyone follow
Greeley, Colorado is our setting for today. It is at the very...
that chapter is a very good channel to watch if you don't, because he's very in-depth with all his stuff.
Tippity top
it's
of
one of my
Colorado,
favorites.
close to the Wyoming border. Population? Talking about like maybe 100,000 people, but what's really interesting about the city of Greeley is that it was originally set up as the Union Colony of Colorado. This was around 1869. No 69 jokes, I won't allow it. And it was organized as a religious utopian society with high moral standards. As usual, high moral standards according to themselves. Actually, you know, we're just great. No booze allowed, of course. You know, non-consumption of alcohol automatically rules you out from being a piece of shit. We all know this. That's been proven time and time again. And to get into this colony, which they must have been fighting them off with sticks, lads, you had to pay 160 bucks. Now, in 1870 money, that is, in 2021, about $3,200. A small price to pay to be of, you know, high moral values, if you ask me. Man, it was so easy to scam people back then. Anyways, the reason I'm talking about all of this is because this video is about the descendants of those people. Did they keep up the good work? You tell me. Now, I'm going to stop myself from being a sarcastic bastard because there is one guy who genuinely did keep up the good work. And his name was Randy Baker. He was a lifetime local Greelyanowskian. He was 59 years old. Lucky to be 59, to be honest. He had, maybe 30 years before, been heavy into drugs, a partier, and dealt with, some unsavory types. His life was like the cantina scene, from Star Wars. He had to be careful or else, You'll be dead! He lost everything, did jail time, avoided prison, and came out the other side a changed man. That stint scared him straight.
Did it?
Did an L. Yui on the road of life turn things around, and he wanted to be there for his daughter, Betty. Betty was Randy's daughter from his first marriage, a marriage to a woman named Dory. And he would go on to remarry his hairdresser, a quiet, nice woman named Kelly. And so, from there, he decided to go to school to help others.
I love how when he mentioned the fact that she was his hairdresser, he zoomed in on his very bald head, because it's like, what did she do for you? How did you meet her if you're
And he would be a role
bald?
model for his family too,
That's
including his
interesting.
nephew, who had his own dealings in illicit substances. Randy
bald.
Baker would go on to become a counselor. When he wasn't working or counseling, he'd be out on the hog. I'm not gonna make that joke. The hog meaning his Harley.
His motorbike.
And so it was
Alright.
Wednesday, the 16th of August, 2017, at roughly 8:30 in the morning, that Randy's wife, Kelly, after having been away for the night, she returned, the next morning. She opened the door into the house from the garage, and she found him. Just inside the door, lying face down.
What?
It did not look good in the slightest. He had a bag of food with him, like he had just arrived himself, and he'd collapsed. But he was in like a pool of blood.
911, what is your name? Kelly Baker. Okay, tell me exactly
This
what
is
happened.
weird.
I just got home and I opened the door and my husband's dead on the floor. Do you think he is beyond any help? I don't know. I can't do it. I can't look.
She called the police and was waiting for them outside when they arrived. Randy was dead, she said. See, what it looked like was, Randy, he had a really bad heart. He had a cardiomyopathy, right? He had been dangerously electrocuted when he was 28 years old while he was working on power lines. And, his doing of devil's dandruff and alcohol and kind of all that doesn't make for a good heart soup. Not good for your ticker after already having been zapped, so it seems like, all those years were catching up with him. His blood pressure was all over the place. He had been dozing off, dangerously having a snooze even while driving a number of times. And when I say number, I mean about 5 times that month alone. The day before he was found, he had fainted while driving due to low blood pressure. He had dinged up his car, and the cops arrived to give him a warning. So perhaps while, wandering in, he had fainted, collapsed, banged his noggin, and bled out. An examiner arrived at the scene in Randy's house, right? They spoke with his wife Kelly, Randy's sister Carol Baker, who was also there, and they had a go at
Why does it feel like his wife did this, though?
the fella. Looked like, exactly kind of what it looked like. Natural causes tragic. It's very tragic, but it happens. There you have it.
It does
Thank you
happen.
so
but
much for watching. I really, I'm kidding. There's like so much more to go through from here. It looked
There's
like what it
more.
looked like
Like,
until
this
you
is
took a
weird.
step back and things didn't make sense. I mean, if he arrived home, with that food that we can clearly see, and he was, with his grub, he was going to wolf it down, he just, if he just arrived home and he'd walked in from the garage, where was his vehicle? His vehicle was not there, nor his wallet. Now, he had banged up his car the
Oh, the way
previous
he says
day
vehicle.
when he conked out while driving.
He says vehicle.
But a quick check with mechanics in the area revealed, nope, he hadn't taken it to the shop. Maybe he got a taxi or something, while getting that food he was found with, but a check of their CCTV revealed that he had the car. Weird set of circumstances, and they got even weirder when the medical examiner, having a tinker with the body, found 2 bullet holes in Randy. He had collapsed alright
What?
because he had been shot dead. The bullet wounds weren't immediately, seeable, because they were hidden by the blood, so it seemed like Whoever shot him probably took his wallet, probably took his car. So tracking down those would be the best bet to finding the killer. Well, tracking from when he left work, he arrived at the food place, then headed home. The restaurant was maybe a 10-minute drive from there, and it looked like he'd been shot as soon as he set foot inside. So, they had a good idea of when the murder took place. And how it took place. See, there were 2 different wounds in his head from 2 different bullets. Was there 2 killers? They both had a pop. The usual questions were asked, anything in his past? Anybody out to get him? Anything, waiting for him? Kelly? She could think of anything. But she'd been separated from Randy for a couple of months. They'd separated in the spring before this August.
They were separated, you see? That makes it weird. It had to have been her.
She was 11 years younger than him and his caretaker to some degree, and, well, she couldn't take it much longer.
I don't want to do this anymore. So,
He was a very good counselor, and he wanted to change and help these people. Counselor.
He was a drug dealer?
Somebody got released because if Randy didn't go to prison, he must have knocked on. Or maybe that's not the right word.
So, was this from his, partying, druggy days, back then? Someone with a grudge? Well, before that question, there was another one.
Did Randy have any life insurance policies or anything like that?
Yes.
Oh no.
There's actually 2 that they're $5,000 each, so it's totally $10,000.
Oh, that's it?
Girl, you know too much already.
I mean, 10 grand. I wouldn't kick it out of bed for farting. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't, for it. I mean, it would be a slam dunk. She even admitted to, since
I wouldn't kill somebody over that much money. Are you crazy?
moving out of Randy's, she was hooking up with somebody else. But no, that's not quite, eyebrow raising for me. Doesn't do it for me. It's not really tickling me.
This doesn't make sense.
It was on the 21st of August, 5 days after the murder, that Randy's car was found. It had been abandoned, plates removed, just dumped there, it seemed. It appeared to have been wiped down. Whoever
Alright, no. If it was wiped down, there still has to be some DNA. Give me some DNA.
did this knew what they were doing, and the police didn't get much from it. So they found the car, and someone would wish they hadn't. Because shortly after, they also found an ad on Facebook. Someone was trying to sell it. From there began essentially a game
Oh, who tried to sell it? Who is
of
this?
telephone. With this woman getting the car from this guy, who got it from this guy, with it eventually leading to Carol.
Who the fuck is Carol?
Carol Baker, Randy's older sister.
Older sister?
She passed the car on shortly after he'd been killed, before he had been discovered. Police also learned that Randy and Carol fucking hated each other.
Oh my god.
So while she may not have
The plot fucking thickens, so I'm over here thinking that it could have been the separated wife, but it could also be the sister who fucking hated
done the
him.
deed, she certainly knew who did, and she wasn't gonna cry about it.
Or they could be conspiring together.
Carol and Kelly were also busy mates. That's in fact how Randy and Kelly met. And they would text
That's how Randy and Kelly met.
each other constantly. It was like a weird sort of melange of shit.
The Space Melange.
Carol was also the last person known to have been in the house, having popped over at about 6 p.m. that day. So she was in the house and out of the house about an hour before Randy walked in and was shot dead. But again, what was weird is that, once they thought, hey, we got him, they didn't got him. Carol was confirmed to have been out of the house around the time, the police could tell Randy had been shot. And Kelly, the other person who may or may not have been in cahoots with Carol, was also 100% confirmed. She wasn't there. Neither of them were the shooter. So you got soon-to-be ex-wife, always a winner. And then you got sister who hated him. And they were like pigs in a blanket. But neither of them did it. Probably didn't do it. So the police started going through the texts Carol and Kelly were sending each other, And a name kept coming up, right? The name Sonia. Certain Sonia. The thing about Sonia was that it would be revealed there was no Sonia. Sonia, in fact, was the nephew of Randy Baker, the one who, himself had been involved in drugs. The one who had always looked up to Randy.
Oh no.
And he had been in prison for attempted murder a few times. His name was also Kelly. Kelly Raisley. Kelly, who had, gang ties and went by the name Grizz. Oh, Lord.
Why,
And he was the
Grizz?
son of Carol Baker. So could he finally, scratch attempted off his CV? Carol, Kelly, and Kelly were brought in. And it was Carol, the mastermind, who broke first.
Oh shit. Give me the tea. Give me the
How the
tea,
police
Carol.
got her to break was genuinely fascinating. So, Kelly Baker, right, she kept saying she believed a drug dealer was the one who killed Randy. Something like, a past villain from the shadows. Some murky cantina boyo.
I don't like you either.
I wish you guys luck.
I'm glad you're doing fairly well, all things considered.
Now, by this stage, though,
That laugh.
tisk, tisk, Kelly, the police were hiding their shit-eating grins. They knew she was involved, but, they decided to go along with her. Just play along with her for a bit.
Just go
So,
with
they
it.
printed out mugshots of local drug dealers and asked her to point to the one, she saw
Oh
snooping
my god,
around
number
with
5. Look at number 5's face. He is too focused on the camera.
Randy, who she thought might be involved in the murder. So, she pointed at
see
mugshot
you.
number 2, a completely random dude she was essentially framing.
How dare you?
Do you identify something in there?
Yes.
Okay. There's a number above each one of the images that you can circle. The
How
corresponding
could you
image
just
over here.
frame some random person? Just like, yeah, I'll just
How
pick this
confident
random
are
guy.
you that the individual you're picking is?
100%.
Okay.
She told the police she was 100% positive number 2
This bitch.
was the killer. And so the police used this to their advantage.
Girl.
They asked Carol to come down the next
That's a
day and look at the
mistake.
same mugshots. But they knew Carol and Kelly, they were in cahoots. They spoke non-stop. They were like schoolgirls. And so they knew Kelly would probably tell Carol who to point the finger at. Dude number 2, right? Well, what if the police switched the mugshots? So now, mugshot number 2 was Carol's own son, Kelly Grizz Raisley. Carol, upon seeing the person she was supposed to point at was her own son, assumed that Kelly had sold her down the river, and she confessed. Carol was really not the mastermind.
Oh.
It was Kelly Baker.
Who was with Kelly in the house when you murdered her?
Nobody was there.
Just Kelly.
Had to be just Kelly.
Why did she feel she had to murder Randy Baker? What did she say?
Said he'd never leave her alone. I can't live like this anymore.
That
Oh.
was Kelly Raisley was going to shoot and kill her. Is that correct?
She sold her out.
I think I need an attorney.
You do? Okay. Well, you're under arrest for first-degree murder and conspiracy for first-degree murder.
Oh, you need an attorney? Well, put these on, bitch.
We begin tonight with the shocking new details in the 3 family members now charged with conspiring to kill Randy Baker.
Greeley police released this new arrest report that shows that this man's wife and his sister and his nephew had reportedly been plotting to kill him for weeks. This newly released arrest affidavit shows a tangled web
Y'all
of
fucked
family
up.
dysfunction. It says this summer, his wife of 18 years, Kelly Baker, was having an affair and told Randy she was tired of waiting for him to die. His sister Carol, it says, helped his wife clear all the valuables.
She was tired of waiting for him to die. Are you? Oh my god, that's the things that people will do rather than just get out of relationships. It's like you could literally just leave. You could just leave. But no, you would rather weave this tangled web with other people to murder this man. It is just insanity.
Out of their home and brought in her career criminal son, Kelly Raisley, accused of being the gunman.
Carol and Kelly, the wife Kelly, were arrested. Grizz, When he was taken in, he
Oh,
refused
Grizz.
to say anything. Anything at all for like 7 months. Until he decided to tell a little old story. He wrote it out, actually. He wrote it like a novel.
Oh.
This was in exchange for no death penalty. I'm giving you my confession to purge my own conscience and soul, but for my respect, admiration, and essentially the love I've truly always had for my uncle, the whole situation makes little sense, and it's just tragic. Yeah, like, this sucks, but you know, what can you do? It's just tragic that these things happen. That's what he said, but it's like, you did it. Grizz would come out and say that he had been manipulated by both Carol and Kelly Baker, and that, you know, they had told him just horrible things about Randy. He was abusive, he was a real bastard. Which is weird when he was Randy's nephew and had known Randy his entire life.
That's your
and always
uncle.
Looked up to him, you know, so it's like, you also knew Randy. Carol had been
Yeah,
the
you
last
can't-
one inside Randy's house, but you
I understand him feeling like he was manipulated into doing this, but at the same time, like, you hold some accountability here, bro. You knew him. That was your uncle. And for him to say, like, he was manipulated into doing this, it's like, dude, you could have said no. You could have said, no, that is my uncle. I respect him and I care about him. Like, nah, you can't say that I was manipulated into doing this. Some part of you was just like, yeah, okay, I'll do that for you guys.
wasn't there alone. Grizz was with her, and when she left, Grizz didn't.
Did you honestly know you hit him in the head when you fired?
Kind of seen it.
Grizz shot his Uncle Randy as he walked in the door with his food. He shot him twice, one with, you know, he carried 2 guns, so he wanted to test them both out.
Why'd you bring 2 guns?
I always have 2 guns on me.
He then left in Randy's car, which he passed to his mother Carol, to this, to that, to them. Grizz's payment would be Randy's Harley and $10,000.
Were you approached and talked about what you get paid for doing this?
I haven't been keeping up with that because I'm just like,
And the motorcycle.
So why would, you know, Carol and Kelly orchestrate this whole thing
I'm tired.
when Grizz got the valuable things Randy had, his bike and his life insurance, which was $10K? Well, I mean, that's what Kelly said he had. She lied. He had a shitload more life insurance. Dance time. No. He had like 4 policies. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not to mention he had a big house too. Carol and Kelly would have presumably split what they would have gotten from Randy's death.
these bitches suck.
Kelly Baker was the only one who wasn't talking. She maintained her innocence.
It's just a sad family affair.
It was on an August day, 2017. The end of Randy Baker's life is the beginning of one of the strangest murder cases the Weld County District Attorney's Office has ever worked.
Many of the murder cases that we prosecute are not really that mysterious at all. The answer in terms of the who is often known pretty quickly, and I think that's a lot of what made this case different.
Text messages between Randy's wife Kelly, his sister, and his nephew paint a picture of betrayal, hatred, and vengeance.
And
They
there's a number of
fucking
texts
suck.
that they tried to delete that showed an utter hatred by Kelly Baker towards her husband, that she was having an affair, that she was best buddies with his sister who had the same hatred towards him.
When it came to trial though, both Carol and Grizz confessed and were offered plea deals. So Kelly Baker, she was sort of screwed. Their confessions revealed a hell of a lot more too. See, remember the dozing off of Randy when he was driving, like when he almost crashed? That wasn't only due to his heart, to his cardiomyopathy. The trio had also been spiking his morning smoothies with meds, hoping he'd, you know, drive off a bridge or something. And they were
Oh
spiking it
my
with the meds he was already
God.
taking, so that, you know, when tests were done, toxicology, whatever, he was already taking it, so it wouldn't be weird.
Because they're sweet. Anyway, you want to taste them and
So they were drugging
Right.
him
see what toxicology looking for. because
this
he's already
entire
I
time
mean, I suppose
as
they
well.
would notice the amount in his system was weird, but
That's cool.
they probably wouldn't investigate too much. He'd accidentally taken too many pills and fell asleep.
Randy Baker's own wife and his own sister were plotting with his own nephew
Okay, so I was half
to
right.
give this woman the day she felt like she had waited far too long for already.
It wasn't just
During the
wife.
trial, Grizz actually changed and said he knew nothing of any plan to kill Randy. Of course, he'd already been in and out of jail and didn't want to be known as a snitch. Because they get stitches, I believe. I didn't know why he bothered when they already had his confession on tape.
Why would
Do you
do
recall having discussions with
that? Just admit it.
your mom or Kelly Baker about a plan to harm Randy Baker?
No, I don't.
You got a Harley
Don't.
Davidson for this murder, is that right?
Don't lie.
I got a Harley Davidson. Correct.
It's like trying to close the barn door after the Grizz has been spilled. Carol spoke.
We talked about how she can't believe he's still alive, and
Dude, you're so old.
you know he's sickly and he doesn't want to be here anymore.
As did Kelly Baker in her own defense. What really did Kelly in, though, was the one piece of evidence she shouldn't have had. There was a check for $420. No 420 jokes, I won't allow it. That Randy, he had for Kelly. He texted her saying, "I got that check for you," in that amount. But remember, his car and his wallet were missing after, he was killed. Well, it's interesting because the day after he was killed, Kelly cashed that check. So how did she get it?
That means that you deposited a check from a dead man's wallet, right?
Correct.
A wallet that was missing, right?
Right.
From a car that was stolen,
Correct.
stolen by a killer
Right.
who shot your husband
Correct.
in a murder you claim you had absolutely nothing to do with.
Right.
I'm done with this witness, Judge.
Correct.
A Greeley woman will spend the rest of her life in prison for plotting the murder of her husband with his sister. 49-year-old Kelly Baker was found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Her husband, Randy Baker, was killed at their Greeley home on August 16, 2017.
It didn't end well for Kelly in the end. She was sentenced to life without parole. Grizz also, life no parole. And Carol, 30 years and the slammer for you.
Oh, she gonna die. She gonna die in there. She's
And there you
already
have it.
old.
That's the story of Randy, Kelly, Carol, and Kelly. Definitely keeping up with the Greeley tradition of high moral values, High moral values
Good
which go
job.
out the door when, the cheddar cheese becomes involved, as always. Demented stories of family doing in their own family. I always wonder, what part of this seems like it's a good idea? None is the correct answer.
Correct.
And I feel like it's been a while since we talked about a good old life insurance MOIDA policy. They're always good ones. Pretty high in that chapter. Bingo card. That, along with Ontario, Barking Big Dog, Florida. Man, certain things just keep coming up. And I don't even notice that they keep coming up until people point it out to me. I'm sure there's a lot of things which keep coming up. You guys send me the craziest things, which I don't even realize I do. But, thanks.
He's awesome.
Thank you so much for watching. I
I
really
love his
appreciate you
channel.
taking the time to do so and be here with this guy. Here, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next L video. Till then, please look after yourselves. Take care. I love you, Mike.
Love you too, Mike. You're awesome. His channel is one of my favorites. How am I not? What? I could have sworn I was subscribed. Blasphemy. Blasphemy. Now I'm subscribed. I thought I was already. Anyway. That was a great video. It sucks that he got played like that. But yeah, that was that chapter. And we're probably gonna be doing more true crime stuff in the future because I love true crime. I love a lot of things. As you can see, I'm a fucking I like a lot of things. And it's hard to fit all the things that you like into your stream when you're somebody like me that has so many things that they like. It's just really hard to find time for all the things.